There was an interesting article in the San Francisco Chronicle this week that you might have missed if you were doing something more important than reading the San Francisco Chronicle, like squeezing that pimple between your eyes until blood and pus poured down the front of your face, and you spent the rest of the morning taking pictures of yourself smeared in gore with your tongue sticking out sideways and sending the selfies to all your friends with a message saying, "Look, I'm in the new sequel to Night of the Living Dead," laughter emoji. The article was written by Ariella Cook-Shonkoff, a child therapist and art therapist based in Berkeley, California. And I was going to make a joke about that, but how much funnier could it get? Her article is entitled, "How to Talk to Your Kids About Donald Trump's Election." The article begins with this advice, and so help me, this is a genuine quote. "Before engaging with kiddos, give yourself some space to grieve. Hug someone close, walk in the woods, sit on a beach, cry under a blanket. Check your pulse. Are you feeling heated, reactive, or in the throes of despair? If so, delay the conversation," unquote. Now look, I know Democrats are genuinely suffering after Donald Trump particularized their every hope and dream of destroying our freedoms. And I don't like to take pleasure in the emotional pain of others, unless the emotional pain of others tastes like caramel swirl ice cream melted into a sugary liquid and then poured over the naked body of Ana de Armas so that she and it can be drunk down whole like a shot of tequila in a Tijuana bar knocked back in a single gulp at 3 a.m. after being poured over the naked body of Ana de Armas. So let's try to imagine how Berkeley child art therapist Ariella Hyphen wants us to break the Trump news to our kids. After sobbing under a blanket and taking your pulse, approach your child slowly with the blanket still over your head, leaving visible only your grief-racked face with chaotic streaks of mascara that transform it into an almost perfect image of a vampire raccoon that might be waiting under the bed to jump out at your child at any moment. Tenderly sit your son down in the crinkling folds of his crinoline party gown and gently say, "Brenda, my darling boy, I know we'd been planning to celebrate your 8th birthday by cutting off your so you could pretend to be a girl until you'd grown old enough to make your own decision whether to commit suicide or simply mainline antidepressants. But I'm afraid under Donald Trump, you may have to face the fact that you're not really a girl, you're just acting like some kind of sissy. You might even want to get some masculinity pointers from your father if I can find out where he lives and maybe convince him to come home by dumping this hyphen name malarkey and taking his name like a married woman should," unquote. Then if Brenda starts to cry, you can just tenderly smack him a good one and say, "Man up, girly boy, you're in Trump's America now." After that, you might sit your daughter down and say, "Cruella, sweetheart, I know you were looking forward to puberty when you could begin to empower yourself by amassing gigantic body count of indifferent men who've used your flesh for their own personal pleasure so you can shout your abortion between nights of heavy drinking that leave you clinging to your vomit-covered toilet, praying to God for some relief from your despair. But now, with abortion banned in Alabama, Arkansas, and several other states you've never been to or heard of, I think you might consider going on a sex strike against any man who refuses to dedicate his life to supporting you while you raise the children sex creates and make a home for both them and him. Oh, and don't forget to take his last name so he knows the sex strike is serious. And make sure he's wearing a MAGA hat and isn't some weak-ass dipstick like your father. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show. All right, we are ever so back laughing our way through the shocking resurgence of American independence. This is the final weekend for our presidential deal. 47% off new DailyWire Plus memberships ends Sunday. Watch Am I Racist, the #1 documentary of the decade. Access our daily uncensored shows and investigative journalism only with DailyWire Plus. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Trump and lock in 47% off before the deal is gone. I hope you guys are still celebrating. I am celebrating. The best way you can possibly celebrate is with A Woman Underground, or with a woman you know, but reading A Woman Underground, my new Cameron Winter mystery, which is getting just great reviews. I just picked off the last one before coming on. It says Klavan is a master of mystery thrillers. That actually is fact-checked. We fact-checked fact check that out, and that is absolutely true. You'll love the book. Please get A Woman Underground. See if we can pump it up the list on Amazon. Leave a comment wherever you get the show, and we will track you down and raid your house at 4 a.m, embarrassing your wife and terrifying your children. The comment today is from Bill Blessing 429. Says, I tried to share your last show on Facebook and was denied. Hey, Klavan, you no longer live up to Facebook's community standards. Good for you. I am proud to be your fan. Your content couldn't be shared because this link goes against our community standards. We heard much of this. Apparently, this happened to a lot of people. They told us it was a glitch, and I think they fixed it. But who knows? Perhaps we were just a little too happy about Trump's election, but not as happy as we're going to be this week in this week's episode, Trump Trumps Trump. The guy just gets better and better. I've been watching the appointments and all the stuff going on this week. Obviously, I hope you're following this because I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Love Actually. It's 2003 rom-com. And it has these multi-tracked stories, different stories about different people falling in love. And one of them is about this guy named Colin, a total loser. And he's this British guy. It all takes place in England. And he's got these fantasies that if he goes to America, then the girls are easy there and they're just going to fall in love with his adorable accent. And they're just going to be all over him. And he's obviously, this guy is never going to make it. And all his friends are making fun of him. They're sad and sorry for him. He goes there. He winds up in Milwaukee somehow in the middle of this absolutely empty bar. It's ridiculous. And suddenly the most beautiful women in the world say, oh, we love your accent. It's like January Jones and Alyssa Cuthbert. And they take him home to see their even sexier roommate. And they all just go to bed together. And all his wildest fantasies come through. That's what this transition period is like for me. Every stupid conservative fantasy I ever had where people said, yeah, well, that's great fantasy, but that'll never happen. All of it coming true. My wife is like outside the bathroom going, honey, how come you've been in the bathroom for 40 minutes? I was like, well, I'm watching Trump videos, sweetheart. It's like conservative porn. It's unbelievable, the stuff that's happening. The staffing picks, Attila the Hun for border czar, Conan the Barbarian for Secretary of Defense. The CIA director is the Abu Nazar, is the guy, the terrorist from the Showtime show Homeland, who blows up Langley. Remember that scene? He just blows up. That's who he's appointed to head the CIA. And of course, the ambassador to Israel is King David, because he has experience killing the Philistines, or as the Romans called them, the Palestinians. So a genuinely amazing time. And at the end of the show, in Klavan Klapbacks, when I answer some of your letters, I've got one letter asking whether it's right to take pleasure in the destruction of your enemies, and I will give you a complete and serious answer to that question. But first, let's take some pleasure in the destruction of our enemies.
We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. Yay! You'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Now, the average Joe doesn't eat half of the recommended serving sizes of fruits and vegetables in a day, because all he would do is stuff his face with stuff, the juice dripping down. It would be disgusting. You got to get it in a more efficient way. Look at me, right? I look about 35. Okay, you know, I'm actually a little bit older than that, maybe twice as much, maybe 4 or 5 times. But I look like this because I stay healthy. And one of the ways I do it is with Balance of Nature fruits and veggies. There has never been a more convenient dietary supplement to ensure you get a wide variety of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and vegetables every day. Now stop imagining it, because it's disgusting. Balance of Nature provides an on-the-go solution by taking 31 different fruits and vegetables, freeze-drying them, turning them into a powder and then putting them into a capsule much, much easier. It can't get more convenient than that. Go to balanceofnature.com and use promo code Klavan for 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Plus, get a free bottle of fiber and spice. That's balanceofnature.com, promo code Klavan. If you haven't done it yet, you're going to need to know how to spell Klavan. Also, your mouth is filled with fruits and vegetables.
There are no easy things.
Chapter 1, The Gates of Hell. My favorite thing about the picking of Trump's transition team, you have to understand, everything has to be put in context. And what I like is the news media, which is trying to train you to have no memory of events, has no context, but also the cranky Republicans who are looking askance at Trump's selections for his cabinet and for his administration also don't want to put it into context because they think that they're important now. They think that they're going to object to things and people are not going to remember what happened. So let's remember a little bit what happens, okay? Because first of all, let's remember that Joe Biden put Richard Levine, Admiral Rachel Levine, a supervillain who belongs in Arkham Asylum like all the other supervillains from the Batman comics, because he sits around to be a girl. I'm a girl. I put on a string of pearls and plotting the of children. That is essentially what he does in the cabinet. He had, who was the other guy's name? Sam Brinford? Was that his name? The guy who dressed up as a woman and stole people's luggage? I mean, were those guys, did the news media get crazy about that? Did the Republicans get crazy about that? Did anyone ever think like, hey, this is not going so well? But here's the thing that drives me crazy. Like the two big picks that are controversial, the ones that are really controversial, because everybody's going crazy. Matt Gaetz for Attorney General and RFK Jr. to run Health and Human Services. Now, when I talk about the context of this, you have to think back. The Department of Justice raided homes in the dead of night or in the early morning hours to arrest anti-abortion protesters, peaceful anti-abortion protesters. They put like old women in prison for peaceful anti-abortion protests. They threatened to investigate Catholics, and probably did. And they say, well, we're not doing that. Never mind that. They put out a memo saying we should watch those trad Catholics, and they didn't fire anybody. So it's not enough to say, oh, well, we decided not to do that. I want the person who wrote that memo dragged out to the street and kicked out of the FBI building. I want that guy fired, of course, but they're not going to fire him because that's what they mean to do. They mean to terrorize you. Do you remember when parents objected to having homosexual and transitional, propaganda in children's schools, and the DOJ said, oh, the Attorney General, Merrick Babyface Garland, the gangster Attorney General, he said, oh, we're going to investigate them as possible terrorists. Well, we're not going to investigate parents, but we'll investigate parents. We're just investigating parents, but we're not investigating parents. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me that we have to worry about Matt Gaetz becoming Attorney General? Like, not only could I not care less, if you gave Matt Gaetz a flamethrower, and I'm speaking metaphorically now, but if you gave him a flamethrower metaphorically, and he metaphorically sprayed the DOJ with flame, I'd be like, ooh, that was extreme, but deserved. I mean, listen, the Health and Human Services that shut down our churches, but told us that going to a Trump rally was a super spreader event, but told us that going to a riot for George Floyd was great because, after all, racism is also a medical emergency, that lied about the fact that Anthony Fauci illegally gave our money to China to do experiments with gain of function research that probably led to the spread of the pandemic. Are you kidding me? We can't have terrible RFK, who, by the way, Obama, I seem to remember, considered him for the EPA. And, RFK has some extreme health views, but after all, look at that. Here's what I want to play. Just to remind you so you understand this, all right? On top of this, by the way, the Pentagon officials it is reported, are holding informal discussions about how the Department of Defense would respond if Donald Trump issues orders to deploy active duty troops domestically and fire large swaths of apolitical staffers. Defense officials told CNN, I'll tell you how you react. You react the exact same way that Harry Truman reacted when General Douglas MacArthur defied his orders in Korea. You fire them. You fire people who get in your way if you are the commander-in-chief and they are in the military. All right, so Matt Gaetz, I have to remind you of this. Lots of people saying bad things about Matt Gaetz, and Gaetz is a smart guy, but he is a kind of a wild card. I've had objections to Gaetz because he delayed getting a new Speaker of the House in ways that I thought were inefficient. But still, here is Matt Gaetz questioning Merrick Babyface Garland, and I want to set this up and remind you of what was happening at the time. All right, Alvin Bragg, the Soros DA of New York, who lets criminals off free, who prosecutes guys like Penny, the Marine, who wrestled a dangerous madman to the ground. He's on trial for manslaughter, I believe, for protecting people in a subway car. He goes after Donald Trump, right, with a misdemeanor charge that he improperly marked down his payments to Stormy Daniels to tell her to keep her mouth shut. A misdemeanor on which the statute of limitations had run out. And he said, well, no, it's a felony because he did it for a felonious reason, but we don't know what it is. The judge, Juan Merchant, a Biden donor whose daughter is a Democrat operative, says to the jury, you don't have to know what felony you're convicting him on. If you feel he's guilty of some felony, you can convict him. I mean, truly, truly amazing. All right, so Mark Pomerantz left his big law firm to join the prosecution and wrote a book about it. And Matthew Colangelo, and this is what Matt Gaetz is questioning Merrick Garland about, left the DOJ and joined the prosecutor's team. A massive, massive demotion, right? Obviously engineered by Merrick Garland. I mean, this does not happen without Merrick Garland going, you better go down and help those buffoons in New York to get this guy. We're going to get this guy. Garland absolutely denies it, and Matt Gaetz goes after him. This is the exchange.
You might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. No one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time in public service.
Send that man into the DOJ, which is a nest of vipers. And so who's objecting to this? Well, the Republicans. I don't know about this Matt Gaetz, because Gaetz now has quit Congress, where he was about to be, receive a report, an ethics report that may have, we don't know what it was going to accuse him of. We'll know eventually, I'm sure. But, he said to chase girls and to take drugs and all these things. Probably, I have no idea. He denies it. I have no idea. But he quit, which was kind of strange because he may not get it confirmed. But all these people are complaining. Here is one of the people who's complaining, Andrew McCabe, who is the senior law enforcement analyst at CNN after serving as the stand-in director for the FBI. He doesn't think Matt Gaetz is good for the DOJ. It's cut 9.
This is the first step, likely, in Trump's revenge tour against the Department of Justice, the department that he bears such animus and such a grudge against for the way he believes he was mistreated by the multiple investigations targeting him over the last couple of years. So Matt Gaetz sent into the Department of Justice to cause chaos, to fire people from critical positions, to leave positions empty, to vacate longstanding guidance and policy positions and replace them with nothing.
oh my goodness, to replace the long-standing policy positions like investigating Catholics, investigating children, going after Donald Trump, sending your men into the fray to go after Donald Trump. Unbelievable. And this guy has a job. CNN is writing checks to this guy. I mean, at least he's not saying things in public. He's just saying things on CNN where no one watches them. But more people see CNN when I play a clip than they see it when it goes on the air. But as far as I'm concerned about Matt Gaetz, like throw open the gates of hell, because these people are so corrupt. And I cannot believe, it's funny, I went to a party Wednesday. It was this very fancy black tie affair. And I walk in, the first person I see is a woman I like very much, who is a very popular news commentator. And I'm thinking to myself, because I'm watching this, I'm thinking, why aren't Republicans speaking out? Why aren't they saying, after you guys closed our churches, after you guys said that the riots were okay, after you guys, told us, lied to us in every way, if you persecuted parents, you persecuted Catholics, you persecuted anybody who disagreed with you, you are giving me this garbage? And I thought, why isn't anybody saying this? And I walk into this party, and there's this lovely lady who is a very popular commentator, and I said, hi, only because it was a private conversation, I don't want to name her, but like I said, hi, and she immediately said, where is the context? Where is all this going? It's like the few people who see this one are exploding with it because it's unbelievable. They do not know. See, this is what's happening. A lot of the people who voted for Donald Trump, this is a major victory, as I said. It's a major political victory, but it's a huge generational cultural victory. A lot of the people who voted for Donald Trump still don't like him. They still don't like him. There are obviously plenty of people, especially guys, who joined in because but a lot of people voted for him not because they liked him so much. It's because they hated who these people are, and they're sitting around looking in the mirror and an angel looks back at them, and they think, oh, it must be the people. The people must be wrong. But this is like a complete rebuke. And so Donald Trump, the first time Donald Trump was president, he didn't know he was going to win. He thought he was going to lose. And he walked in, and a lot of people wouldn't work with him. And he walked in and he went to the GOP, which was kind of an innocent thing to do. He said, yeah, I need staff. And Reince Priebus sent in all these Republicans who, guess what, hate Donald Trump because he is a new Republican Party, not their Republican Party. And this uniparty, which has been perfectly fine, which didn't hit the roof when they said they're going to investigate Catholics and parents, and didn't go crazy when they prosecuted Trump. In fact, some of them actually kind of liked that they were prosecuting Trump. They actually approved of prosecuting Trump. And now, this time, Trump's had 4 years to think about it. He has thought it through. He's a very smart man. He's a man who learns. He's a man who changes his mind. He's a man who knows how to fix things. That's what he knows how to do. He is bringing in his A-team, and that is driving them crazy, and it is making me laugh and laugh and laugh. You know what the radical left doesn't want you to have? A good night's sleep. They want you tossing, turning, worried about the latest crisis they've manufactured. But here's the thing. You've got to be well rested to fight the good fight. I don't, but I still like to go to sleep occasionally, and that's why I want to talk to you about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed, healthy, hot cocoa for sleep that works and tastes great. I have tried it numerous times, and I love it. Between late-night show prep and early morning broadcast, getting quality sleep used to be a real challenge for me, just even falling asleep. Now I can fall asleep because I have tried Beam Dream Powder. Dream Powder is a game changer. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful, all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. And the best part is it tastes great. I love the sea salt caramel flavor. You can always get me with sea salt caramel. It's only 15 calories. There's no sugar. It's like having dessert before bed, but it's actually good for you. Mix it with hot water or milk, and you're ready for some serious rest. There's never been a better time to finally try Dream. Shop their cyber sale and get up to 50% off when you visit shopbeam.com/Klavan. You've been hearing me rave about it. This is your chance to try it for the lowest price of the year. Head over to shopbeam.com/KLAVAN. No ease in Klavan. I just make it look this easy. You will get 50% off. That's shopbeam.com/Klavan for up to 50% off. Chapter 2, True Lies. Now, I was talking about this last week. I won't go into it again at length, but like I said, this is a cultural victory of enormous importance. It means the mainstream media is done. It means they are done. That we, the Daily Wire, people like us, Joe Rogan, new media, have trumped them because they were lying. See, they think it's because, we just kind of popped up. No, they were bad. They were doing wickedness. They were doing evil. They were selling this uniparty idea that the government was supposed to take care of everything and we weren't supposed to object when they raided our houses, when they threatened us with the law, when they abused the law, when they abused the tax code as they did under Obama. I mean, this stuff was all supposed to be A-okay. You know, you could go on Fox News and kind of shake your fist, but nobody did anything about it. And it was obvious. And then to prosecute Donald Trump because he said the election was stolen, he thought the election was stolen, to prosecute him for that, unbelievable. So because this is a cultural victory, it's really important that conservatives who are not good about the culture understand how to cement the cultural victory, how to fight back against it. And I say it's a cultural victory because they poured everything on this guy to make him toxic. And everybody was like, yeah, I saw him on Joe Rogan. He was a nice guy. He's a good guy. I like him, you know. Even people who didn't like him before or going over his side on the right, they could hear different things, you know. I swear, people, every time I hear somebody say, well, Elon Musk has ruined X by letting everybody speak, I'm like, are you out of your mind? You know, Elon Musk has helped save this country. It is unbelievably great what he's done. And yeah, are some of the people on X people that I don't like and who attack me for horrible and say ugly things? That's free speech. That's the way it goes. I'm a big boy. I can take it. If you're not, stay off X. Elon isn't coming to your house and saying, you've got to go on X. You know, you're there. It's because you want to see what's going on. So I just want to key you into a couple of things that you should watch out for, because remember that it's a uniparty, and it's not always the people who we think are our enemies are falling into the cultural traps that have made it so difficult for our voices to be heard. Pay attention during this transition to the use of two words. One is loyalists and one is retribution, okay? Trump is stocking his cabinet with loyalists because all the other presidents always stock their cabinet with enemies, you know, people who would attack them and get in the way. Now, I told you this before. That I just mentioned that, you know, before he in fact did have his cabinet stocked with enemies supplied by the GOP who wanted to destroy him. They didn't want to end their party, their useless rhino party. They didn't want that to end, so they stocked his administration with people who got in his way. And people were writing in the New York Times, I'm in the deep state, I'm publishing this anonymously, but I'm getting in his way. And the New York Times was publishing books of how wonderful it is to have a deep state that saves democracy by being unelected and stopping the person we elected from doing anything. Good way to save democracy. So when they say he's hiring loyalists, he's appointing loyalists, there's some truth to it, but it's a lie. If I got sued, if I was in a lawsuit with a gizmo company, right, making up a story, if I'm in a lawsuit with a gizmo company and I go out to hire the best gizmo lawyers in the country, and I say, oh, here they are, the experts in gizmos, and the law firm is called Lowenthal, Cohen, and Schwartz, right? And my opponents who are anti-Semites say, oh, he's surrounding himself with Jews. Well, it's true that people in that law firm, going by their names, are Jews, but that's not why I'm hiring them. I'm hiring them because they're experts in gizmos. That's what's happening. He is hiring people who want to follow the one thing he has to do, which is to rip root and branch this incredible cancer of a government out of its hold on American liberty. That is what they're all there to do. Elon Musk, I'm sure, has a very different attitude than Trump. RFK has a different attitude than Elon Musk. These are people who are Democrats, who are independents. They're all from all over the place, but they all believe one thing. This government, this deep state has to be destroyed before it metastasizes and destroys everything. So the other thing is retribution. I'm against retribution, right? If you get divorced, if you're in an ugly divorce, you don't want to pay back your wife. You want to find a new wife who's better, or your husband. You want to find a new spouse who is better. You don't want retribution, but you might want justice. If your old spouse burned down your house, well, you know, prosecuting him or her for arson is not a bad thing. So justice is a good thing. And when they start saying he's out for retribution because he wants to gut the DOJ because the DOJ persecuted him, well, the DOJ persecuted him by way of persecuting us. We're the ones who elected him, and they persecuted him because they wanted to shut us up. They wanted to terrorize us. He's right. Donald Trump was always right when he said, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm just in the way. I've always agreed with that. And so he's not looking, when he sends Matt Gaetz into the Department of Justice, he's not looking for retribution. He's looking for justice. He's looking to take out the corruption. And so they say those words, and a lot of times you hear people on the right say them, this is, Donald Trump back with a vengeance is the cover of the New Yorker. But a lot of times you hear right-wingers using these words because right-wingers are stupid about the culture. We should not use those words. He is looking to clean up a corrupt Department of Justice. Merrick Garland is corrupt, and he needs to be thrown out. And look, I don't care whether these guys go to jail or not. I do care that they are gone, and it is put down on paper that these guys were the bad guys. It's not retribution. That is not retribution. That's justice. Picking on people who insulted you or got in your way, that's retribution. That's revenge. We don't need it. We want to move forward. But justice is a totally, totally different thing. He has his agenda is to cut things down to size, and that's why he's gathered these people. So each one of these guys is causing people's heads to explode. Pete Hegseth, a combat veteran, a very smart guy, by the way, and he was a Fox commentator, so that's what the left is saying. He's just a Fox commentator, but he's now nominated for Secretary of Defense. The New York Times, a former newspaper, says the choice of the Fox News host and veteran was outside the norm. Well, goodness gracious, the one thing we don't want to do when our government is rotten to the core and is strangling our freedoms and is destroying our Constitution, which they hold in disrepute, which they hold in disdain, the one thing we do not want to do is go outside the norm. Ooh, no, I don't want to do that. So this is what he wants to do as SecDef. This is cut 4 of Pete Hegseth on what he thinks is required. Cut 4.
Well, first of all, you got to fire, you got to fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and you got to fire this. Obviously you're going to bring in a new Secretary of Defense, but any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go. Either you're in for war fighting, and that's it. And that's the only litmus test we care about. You got to get DEI and CRT out of military academies, so you're not training young officers to be baptized in this type of thinking. And then, whatever the standards, whatever the combat standards were, say, in, 1995, let's just make those the standards. And as far as recruiting, to hire the guy that, did Top Gun Maverick and create some real ads that motivate people to want to serve.
Right, as opposed to those ads that say you can join the army even if you're transgender because, I'm sorry, but China is looking at that and going, oh, good, it's almost time to go to Taiwan. You got to be scary. And to that point, to the point of an army that's scary and murderous and ready to kill, this is what he said about women in combat, cut 2.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. We've all served with women, and they're great. Mm-hmm. It just, our institutions don't have to incentivize that in places where not traditionally, over human history, men in those positions are more capable.
Right. So he's talking about something very specific, but that's not the way it's going to be played. And this is another thing we have to watch out for. Anything taken out of context has to be put back into context. This is the way you win a culture fight. You do not let them gain any ground. You have to gain ground yourself. We have to take ground. We have to take new ground all the time, but you can't let them come creeping back by using words like, loyalists and retribution and by taking things out of context. So here's Andrea Mitchell talking to Senator Chris Van Hollen on CNN and putting what he said out of context, talking about what Hegseth said out of context. Cut 3.
The choice of Fox News host and military veteran Pete Hegseth as the defense secretary. He has denounced diversity, equity, and inclusion. He disagrees with women in combat. I don't know what he would say to Senator Duckworth, and all the other women pilots, some of whom, like Senator Duckworth, were grievously wounded in combat. But women have been a key part of piloting these fighter jets. And this goes back, more than a decade. So,
as you
this
say,
this would not be for you to vote on until it would get to the floor if it gets out of committee.
Yeah. a very troubling history of statements like that.
So that's on MSNBC, not CNN. I think I said CNN, it was MSNBC. So the senator chimes right in, but here's what Hegseth really said. He said about female pilots, give me a female pilot all day long. I have no issues with that. What he was talking about when he was talking about combat roles is the kind of roles where you're set man to man against somebody like the special forces, where this is his quote, where strength is a differentiator. That is what he said. Okay, so they're taking they lie. They do this to Trump every single day. Anything he says that can be taken in the worst possible way. They take everything he said. We have to keep on this all the time. And Hegseth is right about this, right? We're not trying to have women fill men's roles. We want less filling, more killing. We want the army is there to kill people and break things, as they say, and that's what we want them to do. Here's Tulsi Gabbard, who has been nominated as Director of National Intelligence. She puts the whole thing in context. It's excellent. Cut 7.
When you look at what happened when President Biden had that infamous debate with President Trump, it exposed the reality that many of us have known for a long time, which is that President Biden has not been the guy calling the shots. He has not been the guy making the decisions, nor has it been Kamala Harris, for that matter, nor will it be if she is elected president. It is this cabal of, the Democrat elite, the woke warmongers, made up of the likes of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and, Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and, people who are in the military-industrial complex, people who profit from us being in a constant state of war. It is those in the administrative state, in the national security state, who derive more authorities and ability to take away our liberty when we are in a heightened state of crisis.
See, this is so important, and it's something almost nobody is talking about, right or left. We make the joke that Joe Biden is not the president. It's so clearly true, right? The guy's not competent to do the work of the presidency, and you never see him anymore doing the work of the presidency. And that opens the question, who is? And she's right. It's the blob. It's this kind of absolutely amorphous, unelected group of people who think that they should control the government. And we know from when Trump was in power that they literally think that they should control the government. And that the bureaucrats always sit around and say, we'll be here when the president is gone. What we think matters more than the president. They need to be torn out root and branch in every department. Finally, I just have to mention my favorite appointment is the former ICE director, Tom Homan, who is going to be in charge of getting some of these illegals out of our country. This to me, they're just waiting for the first picture of a child being torn away from his mother. And I think the thing is, I think Trump and Homan are both way, way smarter than that. They're going to go after the criminals. They're going to go after the terrorists. And then they're going to do the thing that really has to be done, which is going to be to penalize the companies that are paying people who shouldn't be here. Once those jobs dry up, people will self-deport. Also, if they get caught drunken driving, they're going to be sent home. Whatever they get caught at doing, they're going to get nervous. It's going to be really unhappy. You don't have a job. Anytime you make a mistake, the police are going to get you, and it's going to double down on your punishment. They'll leave. They can do all this. And I like Tom Homan said this is cut 8.
So there's the secret. That's why Tom Homan's pissed off. Because we had this locked down. And I tell you what, Washington Post can do all the stories they want me about. Tom Homan deport people is really good at it. They ain't seen yet. Wait till 2025. I apologize, but I probably shouldn't say the S word. My wife tells me stop saying it, and
He can, as far as I'm concerned, he can say anything he wants as long as he gets those people out of the country. This is the thing. Again, context. All the tears. Oh, the poor, migrants. Oh, the sadness. Oh, the breaking up families. By what right? By what right does Joe Biden disobey our laws? By what right? They keep saying they can prosecute Trump because no one's above the law. Why isn't it Joe Biden's legal responsibility to secure the border? It is. And it's just absolutely true that he opened it up. He got rid of all the things that Trump had put in place. That's what Homan was saying, why he's so ticked off. He's ticked off because they took the things that they did, the stay in Mexico, all the different tactics they used to cut down on illegal entry, and they took them all away, and they just opened the border by what right? All of these picks are just, I've been having, this is one of the great political weeks. I have just been laughing my way from one end of the week to the other. All the pro-Israel people, Elise Stefanik for the UN, that's great. Mike Huckabee, lovely guy. Mike Huckabee, really good guy, very, very smart. He's going to be Israeli ambassador. I wanted King David because of his killing all the Philistines. But let's take a look at some of the other things that are just making me laugh uproariously in terms of Donald Trump's plans for his administration, which have already made this my favorite administration of my lifetime, which goes back a long way. So every society throughout history has grappled with profound moral questions, and today we face one of the most fundamental, the value and protection of human life at its earliest stages. PreBorn Ministries takes a compassionate, evidence-based approach to supporting women facing difficult decisions. Their network of clinics, strategically positioned in areas with limited pregnancy resources, offers something remarkable: the opportunity for expectant mothers to witness the miracle of early human development through free ultrasound technology. When a mother sees her baby's heartbeat and detailed imaging on an ultrasound screen, something transformative happens. The abstract becomes tangible. The majority of women who receive these services choose to continue their pregnancy, which is a testament to the power of information and support over coercion. This isn't just about statistics. It's about providing women with the resources they need to make informed decisions about their future. PreBorn maintains a 4-star charity rating, ensuring your contribution directly supports their mission. Your support today can make an immediate impact, and right now, every dollar goes twice as far through our matching campaign. Consider a leadership gift of $5,000, $10,000, or even $15,000, all of which will be doubled. Or start with $28 for one ultrasound, or $140 to sponsor 5 ultrasounds. Every contribution matters. All donations are tax deductible. To join this vital work, dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or make your secure donation online at preborn.com/Klavan. I will repeat that, pound 250, keyword baby, or preborn.com/KLAVAN. Your gift today could save countless lives tomorrow. All right, chapter 3, is this real life? Or is it just a conservative fantasy? I think it's both. My favorite story of the week, I have to just put this in here, was Biden meeting with Trump. Right? This is a traditional thing where the incoming president and the outgoing president meet together, sit down, and have a friendly chat, talk about transition and all this stuff. Melania did not come for the usual wives' tea, apparently because for some reason she didn't enjoy having the FBI going through her underwear looking for classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. While Joe Biden, who had those documents and couldn't declassify them as Trump couldn't be prosecuted because he was too old, but he was sharp as a tack, but he had no memory, but he was sharp as a tack. So Melania apparently didn't like all that. But to put this meeting in context, you have to look at one of these Trump videos. Trump is putting out all these videos about his plans and what he's going to do for the country. And one of them is about energy. And he's talking about energy and how the prices, we need cheap energy, and we have all this, as he calls it, liquid gold under the ground. We have all this fossil fuels that are perfectly good for use, and instead we're using these windmills that are hyper expensive. They're ugly. They kill birds. They're just a disaster. So he's saying we've got to get it back, but the thing that's standing in our way is the Green New Deal. And this is what he says about Joe Biden in this clip.
Sadly, crooked Joe Biden sacrificed this tremendous economic advantage on the altar of the Green New Deal, perhaps because he was bribed by Communist China or because Communist China knows all of the money that they've paid him. We have a Manchurian candidate. That's what he is. He's a Manchurian candidate. They know everything about him, and he's scared stiff. He won't do a thing.
All right, so classic Donald Trump. He's the Manchurian candidate. He's crooked Joe. He's a communist. He's absolutely in debt to Communist China and is scared stiff, has to do everything that China says. because, otherwise they'll expose him. He goes to sit down with Joe Biden, who has called him a threat to democracy, a Nazi, and all his followers are garbage. And this is their meeting before the roaring fire in the White House, cut 5.
Well, Mr. President-elect and former President and Donald, congratulations. Thank you. And looking forward to having like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
Good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much. And thank you very much. And politics is tough. And it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate it very much. And a transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome.
This is American politics in a nutshell. Hitler sits down with communist Manchurian candidate Joe. It's great to see you. Hey, thanks. And listen, thanks, Hitler, for giving that Kamala witch what she deserves. I hate that woman. Living with that cackle in my ears has been terrible. The mainstream media, the New York Times, a former newspaper, Maureen Dowd, says, it was hard to watch Donald Trump being gracious because he's only gracious when he wins, as opposed to the guy who called him a Nazi, who called his people garbage. Unbelievable. And so this is real politics. This is the way politics is in a democracy. You can call it hypocrisy. You can call it anything you want, but you should remember it when people are screaming at one another, when they're saying, he's the Manchurian candidate, which, by the way, has some truth to it. And Biden is calling Trump Hitler, which has zero truth to it. There's zero Hitler in Trump, but there is a little bit of Manchurian candidate in Joe Biden. But still, they're perfectly capable of sitting down and being civil to one another, which is what makes the media so funny. All right, here's Whoopi Goldberg on The View telling people that they should not invite Trump voters to your family for the holidays, for Thanksgiving and Christmas. She says she's not going to do it. This is cut 6.
Somebody who tells me that my child is wrong because of how he or she feels, that tells me that they shouldn't be allowed to be who they are with my permission, I have to question it. I don't want to put my kid in that position.
Exactly.
I don't want to put my gay child in a position where she has to sit with someone who doesn't understand her and feels like it's okay to just blurt all that out. That's just me. But I feel like that with mixed families, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
There are certain things where you don't have to put your family in the middle of it. You can have dinner at another point, but it might not be the time to gather because there's going to be some tension.
So don't gather with your family for the holidays because there might be some tension. And we know there's never any tension in families on the holidays, but don't gather with your family if they voted for somebody else. But meanwhile, Commie Joe and Adolf Hitler are sitting down, shaking hands, being fine. It's like they're selling you. I always tell you this. They want us to hate one another because I have said this ever since the show began and even before. 70% of Americans agree on 70% of topics. It's not the people who vote for Democrats vote because their parents voted for them, vote because their cohort votes for them, vote because their culture tells them to vote for it. Some people vote for the Democrats simply because their parents were Republicans and weren't nice people, and so they vote for the Democrats. All of this stuff is what's going on. They are not the problem. The problem with the left is the leadership and the media. That is the problem, and they want us to hate each other. They want us to think there is no way for us to reconcile. They want us to be afraid of one another. They want us to not. Why? Because if we're fighting, they don't have to fight. If we're fighting, they can take over and it is a uniparty. It has been. It has been a party of people like the Bushes who apologize for being Republicans. It has been a party of people who don't stand up for Donald Trump when he's clearly being persecuted because they don't like him, because he's destroying the party that gives them power. It is definitely a uniparty that does not want to give way to the people. None of them want to give way to the people. And above everything else, this attack on free speech. Here's another video. I'm just playing these because they're like, I can't play. I don't want to play. It's not as exciting as these videos of what Donald Trump is planning to do. Here is Trump's video on free speech. It's cut 13.
The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are.
I love this guy. This guy has won me over heart and soul. It's like if I have to criticize Trump for something, I will. Like I said, I mean, look, if you've got Pete Hegseth, Matt Gaetz, and RFK in the White House all together, there's going to be a lot of girls in like pink nightgowns running around the room. It's like, oh, eek, they're chasing me. It's going to be, John F. Kennedy had a dinner with Nobel Prize winners, and he said to them, there has not been so much intellect in this room since Thomas Jefferson dined alone. They're not, if these people actually are confirmed, there will not be so many young girls running around half naked since John F. Kennedy chased girls on his own. There's going to be plenty of stuff we can criticize, but I love this. I think this is great. It's already, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest administration since Reagan. If he carries through with this, if he gets rid of this censorship cartel, he wants to destroy the DOE. The Department of Education. I can't count the number of times people have asked me what the first thing I would do if I were magically made president. And I said, bulldoze the Department of Education, bulldoze the EPA. The EPA should be one guy with one of those water things. If you have a swimming pool and you test the water, that's what the EPA should be. There should be an EPA to do a little thing. But, this is another thing about retribution. Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are now going to be the DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency. And they're going to go around. It's an unofficial thing. They're going to go around finding things to cut. Now, I know this is going to be great. How do I know this is going to be great? Because on every channel I watched, whether it was Fox News or all the leftist channels, whichever one, said, this isn't going to do anything. They're not going to be able to do anything. There's no spending that they'll be able to cut. They will cut root and branch. Are you going to bet against Elon Musk whether he can cut these things or not? I'm not going to bet against that. I think he will do it. I think they should bulldoze the DOE. I think they should salt the earth where it stood. I think they should sacrifice a virgin there to make sure it never comes back in any form whatsoever. EPA reduced. So many of these things could be destroyed. I hope they are all destroyed. And they keep saying it's unlikely. And my response to that is it is as unlikely as Donald Trump coming back from 2016 to win the presidency. One thing I love is being able to enjoy a glass of wine with friends without worrying about how I'll feel the next morning. That's why I want to tell you about this fascinating product called Pre-Alcohol by ZBiotics. Here's what makes it special. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. The science behind it is actually kind of interesting. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. And contrary to what most people think, it's the byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. That's where pre-alcohol comes in. It produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. I used it last night. I was going out with friends who I don't get to see very often, but I had to wake up very, very early the next morning. Didn't drink a lot, but I had to wake up so early the next morning. I wanted to make sure I felt great so I could do this show. So remember, make ZBiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Go to ZBiotics.com/Klavan to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Klavan at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to ZBiotics.com/Klavan and use the code Klavan at checkout for 15% off. But you have to know how to spell it. It's Klavan. Final chapter, tomorrow's culture today. So I keep saying this over and over again, but it's so important. this is a massive cultural victory. But in some ways, it's a negative cultural victory. We have destroyed their territory, but now we have to build our territory, because if there's a vacuum, they'll take it back. They've still got all the infrastructure there. We don't. Our infrastructure is still on the build, and they can do a lot to stop us. They will try everything they can do to stop us. And we have to not just counter the lies, which is very important. We have to start to build something ourselves. I was scrolling X and I saw Shapiro in one of his college speeches, a little exchange with a boy who thought he was a girl, and he felt that Ben was taking his freedom away by not agreeing with him that he was a girl. And Ben said, look, you can say you're anything you want, but there are some things you can't be. You can't be Napoleon, you can't be Jesus, and you can't be a woman, because you're not, right? And I was thinking, Shapiro is a highly intelligent fellow. He is now using brain power and soul power to explain to a 20-year-old man or 19-year-old man that he's not a female. Like, did he ever think that as he was going to Harvard, when he was 12 or whenever he went to Harvard, did he ever think that that's the way he was going to be using his brain? That's the way he was going to be using his IQ? And I thought, this is a country, 25% of the people in this country are liberals. 75% are moderate to right wing, kind of moderate right to right wing. So how did we get here? How did we get to the point where a guy like Ben Shapiro is wasting his life explaining to a 20-year-old that he's not a female? He's a guy. He has no choice about it. Is he gay? Probably. So he's gay. So what? That's not the problem. The problem is he can't pretend that he's something and then ask all of us to go along and say, yeah, you are Napoleon. You've got that hat, you must be Napoleon. He cannot do that. So there are all these books about how we got here. Carl Truman probably wrote the best one. He's written a couple of them. Katie Gorka wrote one. Michael Knowles wrote Speechless, which is kind of about Chris Rufo. All the ways in which this philosophy developed, and not just the philosophy, but the whole leftist philosophy of infinite revolution, infinite transmutation of values, all of that stuff. All of these books being written about where we've been, how we got here. But the question is, what are we selling? What do we believe? And what do we want to put forward? And, I know I do this a lot, but it's still worthwhile. I want to talk about why I keep hitting the God button so hard, okay? And I'm not even talking about religion. I'm talking about the existence of God, the existence of a spiritual creator who has decreed that things should be a certain way, who has decreed the creation is good. Why do I keep saying that this is central to everything we do, and the conservatives who don't sign on to this or who dither about it or who can't decide about it are not going to be as helpful as the people who come forward? And again, I don't think we have to sell this religion over that religion, although yes, I do think Christianity is the religion that we're talking about. Yes, I do. But I don't think we have to say this doctrine or that doctrine. I don't think people have to believe in the Trinity, even though I believe in the Trinity. I think you have to believe in a God of creation who made creation good. Why? Because we all know there are spiritual truths. What's a spiritual truth? That the Sistine Chapel is more beautiful than a garbage can. That it is better to give a beggar bread than it is to torture a child. That it is a bad thing to hurt people and a good thing to help people. It's a bad thing to enslave people and a good thing to free people. These are spiritual truths, right? They're not written anywhere. People have equal rights not to be tyrannized. That is a spiritual truth. Where do those truths come from? Do they come from without or do they come from within? Without God, all of the truths that you cannot see come from within. They're all reactions to things inside you. This is the philosophy of Freud. This is why I disagree with Jordan Peterson about Jung, because I think what Freud said is, look, everything comes out of sexuality and the life force, the eros within us. And we have these complexes, and that's where we get the idea that there's a God. We are afraid and we revere our father, and we're afraid of our father, and so we put our father into heaven. It all comes from us. We create it all. And so that means that it can all be changed. Now, the reason I disagree with Jordan over Carl Jung, who is one of his inspirations, is Jung tried to get past the sexual reasoning by creating or deciding there was a thing called the collective unconscious, the way we all see the world together. And that's where these spiritual ideas and these mythic ideas and the meaning of myth all come from, still within. The question is, and Jung could not make up his mind about this because it wasn't scientific, are we seeing things when we see good and evil that are outside ourselves? obviously we're seeing them ourselves. When I see this computer, it may not look like a computer to God. It may just look like a bunch of particles or whatever. But to me, it looks like a computer. I can use it because the way I see it is close to the truth. It has a truth. When I see morality, I'm not seeing God's morality. God's morality is way beyond my pay grade, way beyond anything I can understand, but I see the morality that I should not kill a child in the womb. Is that real, or can I change that? Is that something I see outside myself, or is it something from within that I can change? So if I say, well, you know what, let's all declare that we can kill a child in the womb. It'll be good. It's a human right. Every woman has a right to choose. And so now that's true. Is it? Does it become true because I say it's true? Do I become a woman because I say I'm a woman? Do I get to rewrite the moral order? Or when I rewrite the moral order, because the moral order exists outside of me, I suffer terrible, terrible consequences. And of course, I believe that the second is true. And there's no way to get to that place without God. You cannot get to the place where the moral order is unchangeable, even if we only see it sometimes, even if we see more of it as we go along, it is unchangeable. Those are the things that have to remain true. And this is why, I'll talk about this more another time because I'm running out of time, but this is why I believe that the churches have to remain orthodox. The churches have to keep to their orthodoxies. They can't sell out to the world, but they can be welcoming to everyone. It is not my job to judge people. It is not my job to tell people whether God loves them. I know God loves them, but whether God is going to condemn them or not my job. But we can kneel at the same altar rail and pray. We can take communion together, even if when the preacher starts to preach, he tells you that there's a way things should be, a way creation should be. Even that, you should not be excluded from that church for being who you are. But the orthodoxies remain the orthodoxies. We can't change them. We're going to have to grasp this nettle. Even the people who don't believe are going to have to understand that their morality makes no sense unless they believe it exists outside themselves. And the minute they believe that, they believe in God. It is back to church or down the drain for this culture. And we have to sell that every way we can, in the most humane, loving way we can, in a way that reflects the love of God. And we have to do it in the arts. We have to do it in our family. We have to do it in the way we live. We have to do it in the way we talk. And we have to do it fearlessly, because they invented a separation of church and state that doesn't exist. It's the invention of a judge who was a Ku Klux Klanman. This is absolutely true. It was hardened in a Supreme Court decision by a judge who was a Ku Klux Klansman, Hugo Black, who hated Catholics and wanted to stop Catholics from having any influence. We've got to break that mold. We've got to break that in every level, in our schools, in our arts, in our daily life, and in the language that we speak, because then we will have taken the high ground and they will not get it back again. Our presidential deal, 47% off new Daily Wire Plus memberships, ends this weekend. Once it's gone, it is gone. There has never been a better time to join the fight. A historic election victory marking the dawn of America's golden age, a blockbuster movie, uncensored daily shows from the most trusted voices in America, and me, investigative journalism, and so much more. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe today and use code TRUMP for 47% off. And yes, that's how you can watch Am I Racist?, the #1 documentary of the decade, the Academy Award submitted cultural phenomenon that brought DEI to its KNEES. The only way to watch it with your Daily Wire Plus membership, head to dailywire.com/subscribe, use code TRUMP, and lock in 47% off before time runs out. This deal ends this weekend. Join us now as we fight the left and build the future. All right, Klavan Klapbacks.
I have watch #1. It's mine, and that's the way I want to have
it. He's also selling watches and socks and sneakers and everything. Klavan Klapbacks at dailywire.com. Klavan with a K. Klapbacks also with a K. Klavan Klapbacks at dailywire.com. We love to hear from you. Please write in any questions, personal questions, political comments on the show, whatever you want. We will try and get to them. Before I get to today's Klapbacks, I do want to say, talk about Dennis Prager. I didn't want to start the show with this because I didn't want to bring it's something that affects all of us here at the Daily Wire. We love Dennis. He is a wonderful, wonderful guy and just a tremendous contributor to the Daily Wire and to all of conservative life. And I didn't want to bring down the show for those of you who may not be as deeply affected as we are, but he took a terrible fall in the shower. He's injured. We don't know how badly yet, but we are praying for him, but it's apparently bad. So, we're praying for him. And I hope if you have prayers to say, and if you've ever benefited from his wisdom, from his warmth, from his, I was so happy to see him on election night. I was pumping his hand as he walked out because, we used to see each other more in LA and share a cigar from time to time and talk about the things that matter. And it was so wonderful to see him. And it just, a week later, he takes this terrible fall. And I hope you will send up your prayers. They do matter. Prayers do matter. And I hope you will, you'll give them for Dennis Prager, just one of the great people in our business and on our side. I want to take this letter from this Klavan Klapback from Mary, who says, now that I've finally become a member of Daily Wire, I feel free to write. In signing up to be a member, I did not click the button to receive the Leftist Tears mug because I take seriously the warning in Proverbs 24:7, do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and be displeased and turn away his anger. From him. So even though we may be giddy with joy, she says, and relief at the election results, shouldn't we try not to enjoy the grief on the other side, as tempting as it may be? Let me give you a serious answer to that question. I don't take joy in the sadness of ordinary Democrats, of people who have been convinced by the media that Donald Trump is Hitler, which is absurd. But, people don't follow the news closely and they hear these things and they think they're true. And now they're worried about it. I was making fun of that lady talking about how to break this to your children. But if you're living with some kook, if your mom and dad are some kooks and who think that Trump is really Hitler, then they're going to be upset. And then the kids are going to be upset. And I don't make fun of that. However, the powerful who have lied to us, who have taken our freedoms away, who have persecuted us, who have corrupted our government, who have gotten their tentacles into every aspect of human life when the government was supposed to be a very, very limited government, and have grown it to the point where it is oppressive and tyrannical and is being misused by people like Merrick Garland and all the rest. Those people we are allowed to ridicule and mock. It is our job to ridicule and mock them because, first of all, it's better than actually physically fighting them. It is a way to bring them down. It is a way to take them out. And it is a way to fight back against the poison, the toxic filth they have pumped into our culture that has made us hate one another. The powerful are fair game. The powerful can be mocked. They can be ridiculed. Their tears can be enjoyed. I do not enjoy, I understand that the people whose lives have been ruined by feminism, the people whose lives have been ruined by this, anti-racism, which is just racism with another color tacked on, all of the things, the people who have been oppressed or who are afraid, who have been taken over by the mind virus, by the woke mind virus, they are not my targets, but the powerful are fair game because this is the weapon we have against them. This is the fight. Ridicule, criticism, joy at their defeat is the fight that we are fighting. It is the way we defeat them. It is the way we stave off civil war, hatred, violence, all of those things we do by talking. And that is why free speech is so important. If you can't talk, all you've got left are blows. We do not want to come to blows. We want to be able to defeat them here with a microphone, with a pen, with a movie, with all the things that we do here at the Daily Wire. That's how we beat them. That's how we do it. It is the fight, and it is the victory as well, and we should enjoy it. And yes, I will drink their tears until the cows come home, whatever that saying means. I will do it. But again, it is not for the ordinary people. Become a member today, because now we're going into member block, and you know what that means. Yes, Klavanlessness and infinite darkness of Klavanlessness and infinite Klavanless darkness and Klavanless infinite darkness. However you say it, it's the same kind of despair. So become a member today. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Klavan at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Come to member block. We're going to talk about naked women and sex scenes. If you're not a member, you're out.